Welcome back. Iran's supreme leader signals he wants to restart nuclear negotiations with the United States. But the State Department said, a spokesperson at the State Department said that Iran must stop its escalation and cooperate with the International Atomic Energy Agency before any negotiation can continue. However, a former Obama official who helped get the JCPOA signed told Fox News Digital that Kamala Harris would sign a similar agreement with Tehran if she wins the White House. Joining me now is retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here this morning. What are your thoughts on this? You've got the State Department on the one hand saying, look, you've got to stop all of the, attacks on Israel if we're going to redo these talks. And then you've got an Obama spokesperson saying Kamala will sign it. She wants an Iran deal just like Obama wanted an Iran deal.
Yeah, well, first, this is where I rarely agree with the State Department on dealing with the Iranians. I mean, I think this is grandstanding on the part of the Iranians. And, I mean, obviously, they're close to weaponization grade uranium on their nuclear capability in terms of highly enriched uranium, number one. Number two, they've blown off all of the IAE, the UN inspectors who keep track of the nuclear program, from being able to get to the sites. They've dismantled all the cameras in the sites. I mean, their bad faith is quite notable here. And I would set the other conditions. I mean, we're not going to sit down and talk to you about the nuclear enterprise as you grandstand politically when you've operationalized all of your proxies against Israel in attempting to destroy it, and also have attacked the United States forces in the region over 200 times, blocked the Suez Canal from actually being used and stopping world trade rather dramatically, and the continuing fuselage of what Hamas is doing and the refusal to negotiate. Meet some of our conditions in the Middle East, and we'll think about sitting down and talk to you about this. This is just grandstanding on the part of Iran. They're back on their heels a little bit in terms of what Israel has been doing to them. I think they have the upper hand. You've seen their retaliation attack against Israel inconsequential. You've seen Hezbollah's retaliation attack against Israel inconsequential. Iran is threatening a retaliation attack of themselves. Certainly they put ceasefire as the first priority, remain to be seen if anything comes of that. It would come of it very quickly if they told Sinwar, make the deal. But they're not going to tell them to do that. That's the reality of what we're facing. This is grandstanding, and I don't think we should play in their hand at all with this.
Well, I mean, look, it just seems so misguided to me after hearing that entire list that you just went through in terms of the way Iran undermines the United States and Israel by backing these proxies to attack Israel and wipe them off the face of the map. And yet we would even consider doing an Iran nuclear deal again. I mean, what is your take on where Kamala Harris stands on that? I mean, we know that Obama was obsessed with that nuclear deal and wanted to do the deal. Even this White House, you've talked about many times having no deterrence whatsoever for Iran in place, and that's one of the issues. I mean, are we just going to roll over and do another nuclear deal, even in the face of all of that behavior?
Well, I don't discuss candidates' policies because I don't want to get involved in influencing elections. But the reality is the nuclear deal was one of the strategic failures of the Obama administration, for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody who looked at to include Israel and others in the region saw it for what it really was. It was a deal that put Iran on the path to a guaranteed nuclear weapon, removing all restrictions in 15 years.
Wow.
And we're 10 years into that time frame, obviously. And Trump walked away from the deal in 2018 after spending 6 months trying to get our European allies to join with us to toughen the deal, to improve the deal. And that was not forthcoming. And then he decided to get out of it because it was such a broken deal to begin with. And I know for a fact this administration, within the last year, the current administration has had secret talks with Iran on this nuclear deal. deal. They have been secretly still trying to go back to it.
That's unbelievable.
Which is an incredibly failed deal. At the same time, Iran's aggressions for 3 years has been stepped up, as I just noted, over 200 attacks against U.S. forces in the region and the other things that they've done. We've got to take Iran serious. They're the kingpin driving the instability in the region. And we need to focus and confront them and stop this hands-off policy we have with the Iranians.
Yeah, I mean, you've said this many times. Deterrence is incredibly important. Let me get your take on China, General. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is continuing his trip in China, where he met with the country's foreign minister, Wang Yi, in an effort to quell tensions before the November election. He's discussing the potential for another summit between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden before he leaves office in January. Sullivan's trip comes as the Washington Post reports that Sisi-backed hackers have deeply infiltrated at least 2 U.S. internet service providers in recent months in order to spy on Americans, users, whether it's businesses or individuals. Cybersecurity experts note the jump in sophistication of these attacks from Beijing. General, here we have, again, a similar situation. The attacks keep on coming from communist China, from a surveillance balloon to now these new hacks into internet service providers in America, and yet we go to China as if none of this is happening and have these talks to hope to get the relations back on track.
Yeah, I think this is probably the 4th meeting that Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, has had with Wang Yi. It has led, to improved communications, mill-to-mill communications and diplomatic communications, and I'll give them that. But we have to have our eyes wide open about what's really happening here. I think this is a step in the direction to try to get a meeting with President Biden before the end of his term, either on the sidelines of the G20 or the Asian Pacific Economic Summits. That both of these events are coming up.
Why? What is that meeting going to do? Why do we need another meeting? What is the meeting going to do?
It's just to put Biden on the international stage once again with President Xi at the end of his term. Nothing's going to come of it. I mean, China knows there's a new administration that they're going to be dealing with post-November, one way or the other, and it's not going to be the Biden administration. They will talk, certainly, to Jake Sullivan here, likely because they don't know what his future is either in the potential of an administration coming forward on the Harris side. But the talks, I think, no one's going to say, let's not talk to them. Of course we got to talk to them, but we got to keep our eyes wide open here. Just as you pointed out, China is conducting the most comprehensive penetration of American society in the history of the nation. I personally believe, if you read in between the lines when Director Wray of the FBI is talking, I think they are overwhelmed by the absolute number of these attacks that are increasing daily against the United States of America. And hopefully we're finally making some progress on fentanyl precursors coming out of China. Public reports are saying we're making some progress. I think it remains to be seen. The facts are China's repression continues at home and their aggression continues abroad. They've not changed any of their goals whatsoever. Dominate and control the Indo-Pacific region, replace the United States as the world's global leader. They are about that business every single day. And we just got to keep our eyes wide open.
Why would they change when there's absolutely no pushback to their behavior? So that's where that leaves me. But, General, it's great to see you always. Thanks very much, sir.